Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Roscoe's recap, and this viewing party was for season 16 episode 10, and the guests this week were Mhi'ya Iman Le'Paige and Jessica Wilde. Today we're going to be talking about Mhi'ya exposing the designer that screwed her over for Drag Race, the scary incident that happened that made Mhi'ya cry right before filming, and Mhi'ya reveals why she and Plain Jane are not very close. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. So they started off by talking about last week's episode, which was the design challenge, and Nymphia said she felt as though from the edit it looked like Mhi'ya wasn't very eager to help Sapphira, who was helping Mhi'ya to make her outfit, and Nymphia asked if that was accurate or was that the editing. Mhi'ya joked that she could blame it on the edit, which is of course the famous RuPaul song. But Mhi'ya said that the only thing Sapphira helped her with was cutting out the bottom of the dress, but Mhi'ya sat for hours on the sewing machine and did the rest herself. Mhi'ya also said that the design for the dress was also her own design, not Sapphira's, and Mhi'ya was the one who wanted to do the leather at the front and the lace at the back. Nymphia also asked if this was the challenge Mhi'ya was most nervous for, and Mhi'ya said yes because she's always travelling and working and she's never really got a chance to sit down and learn how to sew or design outfits. They also talked about the fact that there have been 3 design challenges this season, which is more than most seasons usually have. And Nymphia said she did some digging and found an alleged reason for why there were so many design challenges. Apparently, while they were filming season 16, there was a writers' strike in Hollywood, so there were no writers to write the scripts for acting challenges or other scripted challenges. And according to Nymphia, if any of the writers were caught taking on work during that time, they would get blacklisted. And also, because most writers are part of a union, if the union votes to go on strike, even people who voted against the strike still have to go on strike and they're not able to work. They did ask Mhi'ya about this, and Mhi'ya said she had heard about this rumour, but then the episode started again at Roscoe's and they didn't talk about it any further. So it's not clear whether this is just a theory or whether there is some truth to this. They then talked about the queens being shady to each other in the confessionals and what it must be like for the queens to watch it back in the episodes when they're at home. And Jessica said Nymphia is shady so she could talk about this, and everyone laughed, and Nymphia then said it was true. But Jessica said that Nymphia being shady is just, quote, part of the fun, and it's the way that the queens express love for each other and it's all meant in fun. Nymphia also said though that on All Stars 8, every time a new episode came out, one of the queens would leave the All Stars 8 group chat because they were upset about something that one of the queens had said on the show. And someone would have to reach out to the queen who had left the group chat and ask them what was going on and convince them to come back into the group chat. Mhi'ya also said that it was the same for the season 16 group chat, and although no one actually left the group chat, some people were very quiet in the group after certain things were said, and Mhi'ya added that she was always the one who would reach out to the queens to make sure that they were okay. Batty Davis then said that Mhi'ya was very reserved at the beginning of the season, but then she seemed to get her confidence, and Batty asked when that switch happened. Mhi'ya said it was because of the Snatch game, and the judges said that they wanted to see more of her personality, so after that she just kept doing it. And it wasn't just the editing, she really was that quiet at the beginning of the season, and there was a big switch in her personality on set. Mhi'ya added that she also didn't feel like she could be herself on the show at first because she, quote, wasn't mentally prepared for the competition. But Malaysia Baby Doll Fox, who is one of Mhi'ya's close friends, told Mhi'ya that it was her time and she had to audition for the show. And Mhi'ya had never auditioned for Drag Race before and she ended up getting on the show first time around. But she wasn't really prepared or ready for the competition. This then brought Nymphia to mention something that Morphine had said last week at Roscoe's, which was that Mhi'ya had been let down by one of her designers and she didn't get several of her looks for the show, and she asked Mhi'ya to talk about it. Mhi'ya said it's true, and in fact, all of the designers she had, quote, screwed me over. And the looks that Mhi'ya ended up showing on the show aren't really the ones that she wanted to show, but she didn't really have any other choice. And apparently what happened was that Mhi'ya needed to go to the airport at around 6 AM to fly out to LA to film the show, and she had been, quote, blowing up the designer's phone and had been trying to get hold of them because they hadn't sent her looks, but she didn't get a reply from them. And so Mhi'ya said she almost considered quitting and not going to Drag Race, but then she decided she had to go. So she just threw some of the outfits into her suitcase that she already owned, and then she had to go to the airport to fly out to LA. Interestingly though, Mhi'ya said that Drag Race did give the designer the option of sending the looks to LA so that Mhi'ya could have them after she'd already arrived to set, but Mhi'ya said that the looks never arrived. And so when Mhi'ya got back from filming, she contacted the designer and he apparently told Mhi'ya that he did send the looks, but he had used someone else's FedEx account, and apparently it came back as fraud, which is why the looks didn't arrive. But Nymphia asked if the designer gave any proof that he actually sent the looks, and Mhi'ya said no, and Nymphia said he clearly just didn't send the looks and he was lying, and Mhi'ya agreed. Mhi'ya also clarified that it was 5 looks that she didn't have, and they were the 5 main looks that Mhi'ya needed, such as the look for the Cher runway, and also the significant mother look for the ball challenge, among others. Nymphia then said that she commended Mhi'ya for still going to the show even though she was missing so many looks, and everyone clapped for Mhi'ya. Nymphia also asked if Jessica had ever experienced an issue like this with a designer, and Jessica said that for All Stars 8, for the Drag Family Resemblance runway, Jessica opened the package from the designer when she got to LA, and it was just the fabric and nothing else, and the designer had left a note inside saying sorry but they didn't have time to finish the look, so they just sent material. So Jessica said that she had to make the look herself while on set, and Jessica joked that she was praying that she wouldn't make it to that episode, but she did. Nymphia also got Jessica to tell a funny story from All Stars 8, and what happened was that the queens were unpacking on the first day, and Jessica pulled out a very, quote, tropical outfit that was going to be for a lip sync or a performance. And Jessica looked over and saw that Monica Beverly Hills had the exact same outfit hanging in her station, and Monica ended up wearing it for one of her runways, so Jessica decided that she wasn't able to use that outfit herself. But Jessica didn't specify which outfit it was. Jessica also said that she did end up wearing the outfit to an event after All Stars filmed, but she had an allergic reaction to it and ended up getting hives. And so she said, quote, thank God that she didn't actually wear it while filming the show. Nymphia also clarified that the queens tend to end up using the same designers because there are only so many designers to choose from. So that's why sometimes the queens end up with the exact same outfits, especially if it's a non-specific category like a lip sync / performance outfit. Caramel then brought up the lip sync from last week, which was Mhi'ya versus Plasma, and she said how polarizing it was, and it actually ended up being the most watched episode of Drag Race ever. And the whole issue of whether track records should be taken into account or not had come up for that lip sync, and Cara said in her opinion it's a lip sync for your life and not a track record for your life, and she asked Mhi'ya how she felt about it. Mhi'ya said that she, quote, kicked Plasma's ass, so the proof was right there and that she deserved to stay. Mhi'ya also said that she should have had another wig underneath when she did the petal reveal, but she came up with the idea of doing the reveal at the last minute, and that's why she didn't think about it. And the reason that Mhi'ya ended up doing the reveal was because she was trying to make the lip sync special. But Mhi'ya joked that she already knew that she was going to, quote, eat up Plasma's ass with the dancing, and everyone laughed. Cara then asked what Mhi'ya's thoughts were on some of the comments that people had made about this, such as Trisha Paytas, which I did talk about in my last Have Your Say video, which I'll link to in the description. And when Cara said Trisha's name, Mhi'ya just said, quote, who? And everyone laughed. And Mhi'ya said that although Plasma had 2 wins, Mhi'ya also had a win, and when it comes down to it, it should just be the lip sync itself and nothing else. They then moved on to this week's challenge, which was that the queens had to write and perform their own verses for a political anthem called Power. And in the episode, they showed that Nymphia was struggling writing her lyrics, and they joked that Megami wasn't there to write Nymphia's lyrics for her. And this is because we found out at a previous Roscoe's viewing party a few weeks ago that Megami actually pretty much wrote Nymphia's entire verse for the girl group challenge. Mhi'ya then said that Nymphia is a comedian and she was, quote, trolling the girls when she kept saying that she couldn't do things. But Mhi'ya said that she may or may not have helped Nymphia write her lyrics for this challenge. They then moved on to the runway for this week, which was True Colours. And when they got to Nymphia, Nymphia joked that the people in the audience had said, quote, not again, because she was wearing another banana outfit. Nymphia asked Mhi'ya what her thoughts were on this, and Mhi'ya said that although she loves Nymphia, when she saw that Nymphia had another banana-themed outfit, she thought, quote, "Damn B again?" And Cara added that we love when queens do branding on Drag Race, but how many times can you hit the audience over the head with the same thing? They then got to the moment in the episode when no one went home and everyone was safe, and Nymphia asked Mhi'ya how she felt about there being no elimination. Mhi'ya then said, quote, "Them hoes should have to be lip-syncing because I had to lip-sync when I was in the bottom. So Q and Plain should definitely have lip-synced. And I think we all kind of knew who would have went home." Nymphia then said that she loves to come up with conspiracy theories, or whatever you want to call it, and she said that she thinks that certain cast members in this challenge really surprised production because they did so well, and it would have been impossible to put those queens in the bottom, such as Mhi'ya and Morphine. And Nymphia went on to say that in her opinion, all of the production favourites, such as Plain Jane, Q and Nymphia, were all, quote, in danger of going home. So Nymphia thinks that that's why production thought of a way to, quote, pull a stunt, so that they could keep all of those queens in the competition. And that's why Nymphia thinks it was a non-elimination episode. And while Nymphia had been saying all of this, Mhi'ya was nodding along but didn't really say anything, and Nymphia then asked Mhi'ya if she agreed with this theory, and Mhi'ya said she thinks that they didn't want to send any of the queens home, and they definitely couldn't send Mhi'ya home because she had done so well. But Mhi'ya didn't really answer the question. And Nymphia joked and said, quote, "This is the contract right here," implying that Mhi'ya was deliberately not answering because she didn't want to break her NDA contract and get into trouble. And everyone laughed and then they moved on. They then talked about how shady Dawn is being and joked that she is the real villain of the season rather than Plain Jane. And Mhi'ya said that Dawn is shady in a fun way rather than being just rude. Nymphia then said that they ask every queen at Roscoe's what their relationship is like with Plain Jane, and she asked Mhi'ya how she felt about Plain Jane. Mhi'ya paused for a second and then clicked her tongue, and everyone laughed because it was obvious Mhi'ya had something to say. Mhi'ya then just said, quote, "We're cool," and Batty then asked if they're cool or are they just co-workers, and Mhi'ya said just co-workers. And Mhi'ya explained that she and Plain Jane never had any issues, but they just, quote, "never connected." Batty then said the reason she asked is because some queens have said that Plain was just mean, for example when she came for Amanda, whereas other queens thought that Plain Jane was funny. And Batty said there's a difference between being shady in the dressing room and then just being mean on TV. And Mhi'ya said, quote, "I thought in the dressing room it was fun. All the shade, I thought it was fun coming from her," meaning Plain Jane. "But watching it, it was like, okay girl, you was kind of going a little bit too far with the shade, and I just kind of feel like it was a bully thing with Amanda." They then moved on to the audience Q&A, and someone asked about Mhi'ya being let down by her designers and not being able to get the outfits, which they had talked about earlier. And they were about to move on to another question, and then Mhi'ya said that she had something to add. And Mhi'ya then said, quote, "So for those who's getting into getting things designed, please do not go to Valentino Lane in Miami." And everyone laughed and cheered for Mhi'ya because they were gagged that she actually said the designer's name. Someone else then asked Mhi'ya if she was really that quiet at the beginning of the season, or was it just edited that way, and they had sort of discussed this earlier at the viewing party. And Mhi'ya said she really was that quiet because she didn't feel mentally prepared for the competition for multiple reasons, including the fact that she was missing 5 of her main outfits. But also, Mhi'ya said she's never talked about this before, but the week before she was going to film Drag Race, she had been at a nightclub and was getting out of her car, and a man walked past and Mhi'ya got scared and got back in the car. And then the same man came back a little while later and he ran up to Mhi'ya's car window and had his hands in his pocket. And Mhi'ya thought that he was maybe going to try and rob or attack her, but Mhi'ya just drove off and luckily she was fine. But it really shook her up and she was crying about it afterwards, even though she's not usually a crier. And Nymphia made the point that you don't always know what's going through people's minds when they're on Drag Race, and the queens have so many layers to them that you don't always see on camera, so you shouldn't pass judgment on the queens. Someone then asked Jessica if she felt any kind of way towards Kandy Muse, because Kandy had eliminated Jessica on All Stars 8 right before the finale. And Jessica joked and said, quote, "I effing hate her." And everyone laughed, but Jessica said she's really good friends with Kandy, and people always seem shocked when they see the two of them together because they think that they must hate each other. But Jessica said she loves Kandy and they're really good friends. Nymphia then spilt some tea and said that Kandy had once told her that the reason Kandy chose for Jessica to go home rather than Jimbo is because Kandy said that she could see herself beating Jimbo, but she couldn't see herself beating Jessica, and people in the audience cheered. And Nymphia also said that they knew that the finale challenge for All Stars 8 was some kind of performance with dancing, and Nymphia implied that Jimbo is not the best dancer. And so that also might be why Kandy felt that she had a better chance of beating Jimbo rather than Jessica, which is potentially why she chose to eliminate Jessica. There was also a funny moment when Jessica brought up her famous moment from All Stars 8 when she talked about guacamole. And Jessica revealed that she's started her own line of chips, and she actually brought some of the chips with her and gave them out to the audience. And finally, someone asked Mhi'ya about her infamous Cher impression, which made RuPaul laugh. And Mhi'ya said that RuPaul literally laughed for 10 minutes after she did that, but they didn't show it all on camera. And although they also didn't show this moment, Mhi'ya had also said another famous Cher quote, which was, quote, "Shut up, stupid," which also made RuPaul laugh. And Jessica said it makes you feel uncomfortable when things like that happen on the main stage, and it reminded Jessica that RuPaul had asked her to do a country accent, presumably on season 2. And Jessica joked that she, quote, barely speaks English, so she had no idea how to do a country accent. And so she did a country accent and said, quote, "I'm so happy to be here, yee-haw." And everyone laughed, and Jessica joked that she felt, quote, so stupid, and it's, quote, uncomfortable because RuPaul asks you to do it again and again. So there you go, there was the Roscoe's recap for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16, Episode 10. What do you think of the fact that there was no elimination this week? And who do you think is most likely to win the season? Let me know in the comments. And I'd also like to give a huge shout out to all of my incredible Patreon members who support me every month and are just such an incredible community of love and support. In the Shantae You Stay tier, we have Anna, Becky, Charlie, David, Emmy, Linda and Shelby. And then in the You're a Winner Baby tier, we have Bailey, Christian, Emerald1508, Ethan, Kat, Lisa, PC Smush, Rachel, Rochelle and Sam. Thank you all so much for your incredible support. You're all legends. Your support is really such a massive help to my channel and really keeps it going. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate you all. And if you'd like to have your comment featured in my Have Your Say videos, as well as get early access to my videos and priority when submitting interview questions, please consider signing up to my Patreon and supporting my channel, and I'll put a link in the description. Please make sure you like, comment and share this video as it really helps support my channel. And of course, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date about new uploads. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you'll join me again in future videos. Thank you, bye!